Want to give a special thank you to our kind sponsor down in Des Moines, Brad Van Meter, and his great team at State Farm on Fleur Drive in Des Moines. Give Brad a call for a free quote on insurance at 515-256-6480. Very competitive on homeowners rates, and so many people realizing over the last couple of years, even here in the state of Iowa, the importance of having good quality homeowners coverage. Again, visit him online at bradvanmeter.com or give him a call, 515-256-6480, or in person, 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines. That's Brad Van Meter and his great insurance team down at State Farm. Also want to thank RTI Threads. Yes, you can shop the official apparel and merch lines of people like Owen Freeman, Peyton Sanford, and Josh Dix. Iowa's top three standouts, arguably. I think maybe there's some controversy there, but certainly three guys that Iowa needs a lot from over the next couple of weeks, over the next few weeks. We'll get to it in just a second. But you can shop the official merch lines of all three of those guys and many more Hawkeyes over at rtithreads.com. Use the /NIL. You can also check out the link. It's in our description. Your Iowa Hawkeyes fall again. 72-67 tonight. Hawkeyes fall at home to the previously 1-6 conference play Gophers. This is a Minnesota team that entered Carver with a win the other night against Michigan. I think we should throw that in there. It was a surprise to many people. And it was also mentioned during the broadcast how Minnesota had really pushed Ohio State to overtime the other night. But it's a 1-6. It was a 1-6 team, nevertheless. And so we got that out of the way. I think you probably know where I'm going to go with this because people have gotten to know me over the course of this show. Once again, I don't know what else to say tonight other than what an absolute embarrassment. And before we get into further basketball talk, I know a lot of people come in here for therapy or for me to say, fire Fran. Before we get to all of that, and I'm not saying I'm going to say fire Fran, but regardless, before we get to that, certainly thoughts and prayers go out to the young man who was injured, part of Iowa's cheerleading squad as they were going through one of their very regular, very normal and routine performances during one of the timeouts there at the end. A nasty incident, very scary incident in which one of the male cheerleaders apparently slipped and hit his neck on the hardwood floor at Carver-Hawkeye Arena. The Big Ten Network broadcast returned to the stream, the live coverage of the game, fresh out of the timeout, with a live view of paramedics and medical staff surrounding a lifeless body, what appeared to be a lifeless body, and that is as scary as it gets. Thankfully, the young man did end up moved his hand, moved his fingers, gave the crowd a thumbs up. They took him out on a stretcher, but I mean, he was not moving, at least on the Big Ten Network broadcast for some time, and that is as scary as it gets. Big kudos, big thanks to Brad Floyd and the entire medical staff that was there, Johnson County first responders, certainly the I don't know if it was Johnson County Sheriff or Iowa City PD or even U of I PD, regardless, all those first responders that were there seconds after it occurred. Kudos to those individuals because, boy, I know hindsight's 2020, and I've been to a lot, as so many people who are watching this show right now, you can all testify to this. You've been to a lot of Hawkeye games. You've seen this routine where they're basically tumbling across the floor during timeouts. And I don't think I'm probably the only one that said, man, it looks like it'd be easy to slip and wipe out and get seriously hurt. And thankfully, it doesn't happen often, but it happened tonight. And again, just thoughts and prayers to that young man and his family. We just hope he's okay. But I wanted to cover that first because obviously much more important than anything that happened on the floor tonight. And it was actually, ironically enough, it is a really unfortunate irony. It was at that point, after they came back, they got him out safely on the stretcher. When they came back, Iowa finally did make a push, and it was just too little too late. Iowa had trailed by, I believe, as many as 15. They end up losing by 5, had the ball down 3 with potentially an opportunity to tie it. Just couldn't get a good look. Credit the Minnesota defense. The ball finally ended up in the hands of Seydou Traore, who made a basketball move and was fouled. But it was at that point, I'll just say this right now, it was at that point that I said this game's over. And with all due respect to Seydou Traore, I think he's got incredible potential. But it was not good timing to send him to the line. He's a 60% free throw shooter. They were in the 1-and-1. Iowa doesn't rebound well anyways, so you just know if he misses the front end, it's basically over. That's exactly what happened. They don't get the rebound. By the way, he's one of their better rebounders, so that doesn't help. And that was all she wrote. A big for Minnesota, who was they had a couple of horrific free throw shooters that got some kind rolls at the rim on free throws there in the second half. Credit the Gophers. They're playing better basketball right now. And they came in with energy. It was a dead arena. I mean, there are pictures streaming in from social media of the people that were there, and just unbelievable scenes from Carver. And I've never seen anything like it. I mean, there's not even, it used to be, well, the ends are empty. There's nobody behind the baskets. I know it's a Tuesday. I know the team has been struggling. I know it's an 8 p.m. tip. It's a Big Ten game against a rival. And there ain't nobody there. I mean, ain't nobody there. I don't know if they had 2,000 people there. I mean, maybe they did, and maybe I'm seeing the opposite side. I got to share this picture, folks. If you haven't seen this, if you're not on Twitter, it's likely you haven't seen this. but I've never seen anything like this at Carver. And we've seen some bad crowds over the years. I'll share my screen. This is credit to Trevor Ohm. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name, sir. But here's that photo. And I guess we can go ahead and make it, let's make it a little bit bigger so people can see this. Yeah, let's see if we can blow this up a little bit more. Okay, it's not going to let me do that. But you can see, I mean, just unbelievable sparseness. What's the word? Empty seats, lack of fans. I've never seen this for a Big Ten game. And again, you can't see the TV side of the court, right, where the cameras are. But look at those empty seats. And that is, I can't see a clock. Maybe I can see a clock. This is during the game, just for the record, because you can see the shot clock's at 27. The players are out here. This is during a game. This is unbelievable. And I know people certain people get real upset when I go on and on about attendance. And I'm not blaming the fans. I'm not blaming the fans. At times, I've been critical of fan support to some extent. But that's all with a very small grain of salt. Because when you have results like this and you have performances like what we saw from Iowa up in Madison and down in California, and year after year after, and yes, the women's basketball success over the last couple of years has taken away some of the fans. I'll acknowledge that. But for the people that say, well, the fans, somebody said that a couple of weeks ago when I posted a picture of the empty stadium on a Big Ten game. Well, the students aren't there. Yeah, the students who are not in session. Last I checked, school is back in session. I know it's back in session at Iowa State. So somebody tell me I'm wrong about Iowa. This is obviously not an in-session, out-of-session problem. And, it goes deep. It runs deep. And for the people that say, well, the solution is fire Fran, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I really do not know how Fran digs his way out of this. I really don't know. Now, is this team done? That's the next question. I think this is the here and the now we need to answer. Short answer, no. My gut tells me yes. My gut tells me this team this was not a nail in the coffin because it's way premature to say that. We still got a lot of games to play. They played 20 conference games. They're not even halfway through the schedule. But my gut tells me yes, because I don't know how this team has not responded to this point. Like when it got embarrassed up in Madison, how on earth did that not make the players and the coaches so angry that you vow to never let that happen again? Next time you go on the road, it happens at USC, and you're like, okay, well, hit me once, shame on you. Hit me twice, shame on me. Hit me 3 times. They go to UCLA, happens again. And then we hear from Brock Harding and Peyton Sanford and the leaders, the guys that are professed leaders of this team, talk yesterday to the media. I was not there for the media availability, but I did see people tweeting about it during the day yesterday. Brock made a statement, hey, we're the leaders. Peyton and I have really taken responsibility. We're leaders on this team. Well, let me tell you something, folks. This team appears to really lack leadership. It just does. At this point, what I'm seeing is a team that lacks good leadership. And it's eerily reminiscent of what we see on the women's side. These two teams are losing in different ways, but the men and the women are very similar in that it appears to me like they lack strong leadership at the top. And that's not a personal rip on Peyton Sanford or certainly second-year guy in Brock Harding. It's not. I think Drew Thelwell's in an awkward position. He comes in here as a fifth-year guy, but he's brand new to the program. I think that's an awkward situation. Owen Freeman's a second-year guy. Josh is a third-year guy. I don't know how vocal he is. One would think, and again, and nothing personal against Peyton, I'm just telling you what I see, appears like they don't have strong leadership at the top. And maybe Peyton's doing all he can off the court. I don't know. But I'm going by what I see, and I see a lack of it right now. And this is a game where, they were behind the majority of the game. This game wasn't even it wasn't even close until the very last 2 minutes. It literally was like the last 2.5 minutes. It was after the scary incident with the cheerleader. Iowa comes out of a timeout. They were down 11 or 12, and they actually find their way back into this thing. And cut the lead to 3, but it was too little too late. But it wasn't close in the second half. Minnesota put their foot down right away in the second half. It was a 4-point lead for the Gophers at halftime. And they led from basically start to finish in that second half. And I'm just pulling up the stats here. I'm awaiting the official, but I'm curious to look at the official NCAA box score. We don't have those yet, those numbers yet, because I want to see what the official attendance says. Oh, by the way, Iowa State won today, just for people that were curious. 108-83 over UCF. Close game late, folks. Number 18, Wisconsin is on the ropes against UCLA, so that's the team that beat Iowa the other day. UCLA's got the Badgers pinned 81-77 with $1:22 left in that one. Let me pull up Iowa here. It's a 1-point game now. Wisconsin's got the lead 2-1. So first half, I'm just trying to figure out when the last time Iowa had the lead was. Let's see, it was 24-22 at one point, but Minnesota was up. Man, did Iowa? I don't even remember Iowa having a lead. Did they have a lead at some point? Maybe really early. It was tied 8-8. I don't think they led this game, folks. Maybe 3-2. They led the game 3-2. That's it. I'm looking at they did not lead the game other than 4-2. They made Peyton Sandfort made 2 free throws. They led it 4-2. It was their only lead of the game. And that's all she wrote. Incredible stuff, folks. Let's go to our phone line because we've got lots to unpack. We'll go to Jake, who is joining us live. Jake, welcome to the show.
Hey, Cory. Thanks for having me on. It's been a while, but I saw somebody tweet something about I'm sick of the media posting pictures of fan attendance. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. It's the same thing every game. The behind the hoop is never full. Student section or not, students if there or not. I don't want to hear excuses for that ever again. It's unacceptable. I live in Minneapolis, and Ben Johnson is 100% getting canned at the end of this year, whether it's fair or not. And Fran McCaffrey tonight got outcoached by a coach who knows he's getting canned at the end of the year. He slowed it down all day. He knew Iowa wanted to run. And Fran's answer, what was Fran's answer? Play a little zone, throw in number 44, what's his Mulvey. Fran had zero answer. And
he has not had answers, that's for sure. It wasn't just tonight.
And it looked like Ben Johnson actually had his kids believing that they can go out and win this game. And Fran looked like his kids, I mean, they thought they could just walk in and beat this team. They're not obviously not going to fire him tonight. They're probably not going to fire him at the end of the year because he has job security like nobody else, which is ridiculous in my opinion. But I'm just so sick of Iowa football and Iowa basketball settling for mediocre teams with all the talent that they have had in the past. I mean, no Sweet 16s, all the talent they've had. Fran's never even gotten close when he gets blown out every time. It's why do we settle for mediocrity with this basketball program and football program?
Well, let me say this. So you've heard me if you've been watching this, and I think you have, Jake. You've been watching this show for a long time. I was very critical of Gary Brada on a number of levels. Since Beth took over, Beth has made the biggest move that was necessary, in my opinion, with the athletic department, and that was getting rid of Brian Ferentz. That move was made last year. All right, well, a year and a couple months ago. Was what, October, November 2023. I don't know what Beth's going to do, but in Iowa's defense, because it seems the way you asked your question, it almost seems like you're saying when you say we are settling, why does the administration settle? I don't know if Beth is settling for mediocrity because Beth was never going to fire Fran last year. That was the first year in how long that Iowa hadn't made the NCAA tournament, not counting COVID because they would have made it and they would have been a high seed that year. So it was the first year in a long time they hadn't made the tournament. She had just fired Brian. she's not going to make a change mid-season. And I'm not saying she should fire Fran or is going to fire Fran. First of all, I don't think she will. Do I think she should? If they don't make the tournament, I don't know what other options there are other than two, and that is one, firing Fran McCaffrey, and two, giving him the opportunity to leave with some dignity and pride. I just can't, and I'm trying to separate my own emotion from it, my own feelings, like you are, because I'm with you. I am to the point. If they do not make the tournament, and I want to give this team the rest of the season, again, they're not going to make a change during the season anyways. So I don't really feel there's a real need. We can talk about it, but I don't really think there's this urgency for change right now. It doesn't do this team. I don't know that this team turns it around at this point if Matt Gatens or Sherm Dillard takes over. I just don't see that happening. So they're not going to do that. I don't know that they should be. But at the end of the year, if they're not in the tournament, I just don't know if it's too soon to talk about that. 2 straight NCAA tournaments without appearances. I know people are going to point to the lack of Sweet 16 berths. I'm not saying you're wrong, but the baseline or the goal, the meter has always been, do you make the tournament? Now, that has changed in certain years, like when they decided to make a change with Tom Davis, and that was at the end of a long tenure like Fran. It was, hey, he's not making it past the first weekend. We need to go in a different direction. We know that didn't necessarily work out the way a lot of people envisioned it to work out. But I just don't know if 2 years without a tournament berth is enough. But at the same time, on the flip side of this, Jake, I've said this too, they don't have support right now. Fans aren't going to games. The big money donors don't want to spend money on men's basketball. So other than roster retention and recruiting retention and I don't know what, if anything, if they're going to make an early decision on anybody, it would be Fran McCaffrey, because he's the one coach of the big 3 that don't have butts in seats and don't have donor support. Yeah. I go back and forth. I don't think it's as cut and dry as, all right, they're going to fire him at the end of the year, whether you and I think they should or not.
Well, my personal opinion is I don't think they're going to fire him as much as I want them to. But, I mean, Beth isn't stupid. She knows what has happened in the last 15 years. It's the same thing. They have little athletes compared to the other teams, especially when they get to the tournament. And it showed. And Fran has continued to not land athletes out of high school or in the portal. I mean, in my opinion, he's safe. He's been here this long. They like him. They got him out of poverty with Licklider, obviously. And I don't know. I just feel like...
Who likes him? Real quick, Jake. Who is it that you think likes him? When you say they like him, who is it that likes him?
I think the athletic department likes Fran McCaffrey. They like...
The athletic department likes Fran?
Or whoever is making the decisions to keep him with the program. They do not want to get rid of him. Like, I think they want him to stay. If as long as he wants to stay, they'll keep him. I feel like it's the same with Kirk.
Well, I don't think you're right in that, because Kirk has donor support and he's selling seats. I don't know why you think, what reasons have you been shown to think that Beth Getz, the AD, has some attachment to Fran? She's not proven that to me. She's a year and a half into.
Maybe it's different with Beth now that she's the head now, but I just think, I mean, given he's been here for 15 years, I just think we would have to maybe miss the Big Ten tournament this year. Even that, I don't even know if he would get fired.
And I don't think they're going to miss the Big Ten. If they tank that badly, then we're going to have a whole nother conversation. If they don't make the Big Ten tournament, which basically it's the bottom 4 teams, as I understand it, that don't make it. They lost to a bottom 4 team tonight.
And we don't play them again, so they have the tiebreaker over us.
That is true.
And one other thing, one other
Yeah.
thing I have to say. I feel like Josh Dix, in my opinion, is probably our best player. Drew Thelwell, maybe. I don't think Sanford's. First of all, the fact that Sanford thought he could go to the NPA is ridiculous, in my opinion. But besides the fact, I just feel like I haven't seen much improvement from almost anybody on this roster from last year. Maybe Dix. Freeman looks worse. I mean, his comments the other day making me pissed off, saying about the freshman of the year thing. I don't know. Do you think anybody on this team has improved? Maybe besides Dix? Sanford looks like he has more of a green light than Bohannon has. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've said before, and hey, he's not our RTI Threads player of the game. I'll reveal that in a second. But I've said before, Jake, that I believe Peyton Sanford is the most, from a basketball standpoint. Heard he's a wonderful human being, great kid. From a basketball
100%.
standpoint,
Not denying that. Yeah.
Yep. From a basketball standpoint, he's the most overrated superstar, or he's not a superstar player of the Fran McCaffrey era. It was perceived to be that he was the top dog heading into this year. And I don't know what the numbers say. He's probably their leading scorer. Somebody could correct me on that, but I'm not disagreeing with you by any means. And you brought up lack of athleticism earlier. That's a conversation we're going to have each and every time this team struggles to defend. And hey, defense wasn't even their biggest problem tonight. They couldn't hit shots. Although the defense was a problem in the second half.
But I'll say though, Minnesota ran down the shot clock almost every time. So that also played a part in their, like, they didn't get as many possessions.
Play real fast. Yeah, right. They don't play real fast. And you're sporting a lead there in the second half. They're not going to. Jake, I got to let you go because I got Tom Kakert here waiting in the wings. But I appreciate you. Great conversation, Jake, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cory. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Lomansky, appreciate the super chat. He says attendance cannot be swept under the rug when making the big decisions on the current program. Confident in Beth. Lomansky, thank you, sir. Always appreciate your support, win or lose, for the Hawks. And Dave, why can't I call in, Cory? This is like the biggest road win in Ben's history. This is one of the worst Gopher teams in a long time, and I can't brag about it. Boo you, ski you ma. First of all, I have no idea what ski you ma means. Don't care. As it relates to why you can't call in, you can call in. I just said I probably won't get to you tonight, Dave, because I think there are bigger questions the Hawkeye fan base wants to discuss. And I love you, Dave, but I get very bad feedback when you come on here and start gloating. And you're also gloating about a team that's 2-6 in the Big Ten and is a half game over 500. So let's just calm down. I do appreciate your super chat. You're welcome to call next time. I'd love to have you on. DKurt22MM says Fran's buyout is $6.5 million. The excitement of a new coach would boost ticket sales enough to cover the buyout in under 2 seasons. Easy decision for Beth. Kurt, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the commentary, and you are certainly not alone in how you feel. I think a lot of people who are in the chat watching this show, we got over 310 people watching at this hour late on a Tuesday night, would likely agree with you. Speaking of late on a Tuesday night, we've got none other than Tom Kakert of HawkeyeReport.com coming late on a Tuesday night from Carver-Hawkeye Arena. Tom, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
So it's I know it's late. We won't keep you at Carver too long. You got to trek back to the Quad Cities, but I know because you've been covering this sport and this team, this program up close and personal for a long time. Fans are pretty antsy right now, and justifiably so, with the slides of both the women's team and the men's team.
Sure.
Give us the general reaction following post-game availability with the head man, Coach McCaffrey.
Well, I'll start with the players because we talked to Owen Freeman and we talked to Peyton Sanford, and boy, they're just they're heartbroken. I mean, they're just Peyton basically said, I don't know why we were so flat, but we were flat. And Fran even said that. So I don't know why. I have a theory, but I don't think anybody wants to hear the theory. But
What's the theory? I want to hear it, Tom.
well, because people get mad, say, "Oh, I'm just making excuses." I'm really not. But I noticed that Purdue lost tonight as well, and they spent last week on the left coast as well, and coming home, and Iowa being out there 6 days. I don't know. It
Yeah.
just seemed like they just were lethargic. And Purdue loses to an Ohio State team that was struggling, and that was at Purdue. So. And again, I'm not excusing the effort or the game or the loss or anything. I'm just saying it was weird that both teams played on the West Coast last
Let me
week and
let me
both
come
teams
to your
lost at home
let me come to
tonight.
your defense for a second, Tom, because I agree with you. I don't know what the data says. We know what the data says for football. It was widely publicized how much teams struggled when they crossed multiple time zones, and not excusing it either. But I do think
No,
that's a factor here. Um, and this game looked different, right? Like this this was not a game like what we've
it
seen on
was
the road.
it just I mean Iowa is a good shooting team, and they went 3 for 21 from three. They couldn't throw it in the ocean. They missed their first like 13, first 12 from three, and they just it seemed like I made the comment, and I know people say, "Oh, that's kind of gross," but the offense just it was like a clogged toilet kind of thing. It was just they couldn't get any movement. It was just like it was just clogged up, and it
You know what's
was
funny
just
is it was like the last media timeout, and it was when Iowa tried to make a push, and then now they did come back, in that
yeah.
final stretch, but it was the last media timeout. You know what the first commercial, at least on my television, was? It was for a plumbing company in Des Moines, and I thought it was sadly ironic, but I thought the same thing you did, Tom.
It was just they couldn't get the offense moving. I did ask Fran after the game um, about the play with 30 seconds left where they're down three and
Yep,
they just couldn't seem to get anything going. And he said they only had one timeout left. He wanted to hold on to that timeout. So um, I I don't know. I would have I might have burned it there because here's the other thing that he was asked about um just why things struggled so much, and he basically said I don't want to get fined. um he's not happy with the officiating. Peyton said it to us. Basically, I was getting fouled all the time,
sure.
couldn't get free. I asked him about like the 3-point shooting. He was like, basically we were getting fouled. So
Do you feel like,
um
Tom, and this just purely, I want your opinion on this. Do you
yeah,
feel like you talked to him that is almost like maybe Fran and the players aren't reading the room right? Like, is this the time and the place to even bring up officiating? Even if it was horrendous, is this the moment, third straight
probably
loss, the
not.
way they've been, to bring up the officials? That's not going to set well with people
No,
tonight.
it's not gonna it's not going to, especially tonight. It's just not, but I think they're being honest with their frustrations. So yeah, I think they were just trying to be honest that they were frustrated with the officiating and how it was handled this evening. So I don't know. I'm just sharing
Yeah.
what they said, and Fran basically said, I don't want to say anything unless you guys want to start a GoFundMe for him. And my thought was, oh my gosh, don't start
Don't
talking
say
about a
that.
GoFundMe, because there might be. I'll
Uh,
say this too. We should mention that it was a really scary situation in that last media timeout with the
yes.
cheerleader who took a header um, and had to be stretchered out. Now, thankfully, he gave us a thumbs up as he was leaving the court. So I hope that he is okay and that he's going to, best news we would hear was that he's able to walk and move around and feel comfortable. I see Steve G asking about that. I don't know if the cheerleader's okay. We just know that he gave a thumbs up, so that means he's able to move, and that's a huge positive. But Fran opened just saying, basically, there's bigger things than basketball, and he's right. I mean,
Yep.
that young guy is out there trying to entertain everybody and support the players and the coaches and entertain the fans during the timeout and almost, hopefully it's not a tragic accident. Hopefully he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I was telling everybody as we hopped on here, and everybody else that was watching it on Big Ten Network saw the same thing I did, Tom. Big Ten Network came back, and the first scene was what I said looked like a lifeless body. And that's as scary as it gets in that situation. And thankfully, he ended up moving the hands and moving the fingers and giving the thumbs up. But did you see the accident as it occurred? Were you?
I did not. I just heard like this thud, and somebody said, "Oh my gosh!" And then I see this guy out there just laying lifeless on the court, and I was like, "Whoa!" Because we see that every game they play that. It's like the
Yeah, absolutely.
after in that time in the game, and the cheerleaders do that really long run of flips, and he flipped and just went right on his head. And they're going at a pretty good clip sometimes when
Yes,
they're
they are.
doing that too. So that's really scary.
People for the people saying Fran fade, like it's January 21st. Okay,
Well,
like there's a difference between a fade and just like there's a lot
well,
of season. I'm not saying he's going to turn it around.
The Fran Fade thing kind of died out. I mean, he's played better, and I mean the numbers just don't suggest that
No,
that's a
yeah,
thing anymore. It
no.
just there was a time and place when it was a thing, but it's not a thing anymore. It's just not. And I get people want to fire him. I just don't. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The issue is for Iowa and for any program. I mean, his buyout's what, like 6.4 million, and Iowa's already dipping in for 20.5 million for the House case, for the money that they have to pay the student athletes moving forward a year. So um, that's they're already making huge cuts. Where's the 6.5 going to come from when you don't have a lot of money to begin with? I don't know.
So I did see a tweet from your guy Kyle Huseman. I know you guys recorded
Yeah,
a podcast the other day, and
yeah,
he tweeted out that you both had called this a must win.
yeah. We're like, boy, they got to get back on track.
So my question is, and I don't disagree because we here on the show called it a must win as well. So my question to you is, when we use that term must win, maybe we floated around a little too much, but
Yeah,
it are they done? I mean, if it's a must win, they lost it. Are they done?
never done. You still got a lot of games left. A lot can change, but just to get back some momentum after that listless LA trip where you gave up 99 and 94, and then you just get beat by a Minnesota team that just picked up their first win in conference play. It is hard to, you know, they might win on Friday. If they win on Friday, boy, it's just gonna get compound even more. But I honestly thought that I'm like, boy, they're going to come out and they're going to play super inspired basketball tonight because they're back home. They feel a little bit embarrassed by what happened on the road out in California, and they're going to come out and they're going to play great defense and they're going to play inspired, and they're just going to take the Gophers to the woodshed. And it's not almost exactly the opposite is what happened.
Well, Tom, I know it's harder to play. No question, life is hard in the Big Ten, especially when you fly out to California. But I said the same thing when you do what you did in Madison against Wisconsin, and then to go out in the very next road game and do the exact
Yeah,
same thing against
yeah,
USC and nearly the exact same thing, if not worse, to UCLA and a team that couldn't really make threes. But
yeah.
That has been my concern, and I'll be honest. You deal with these young men a lot. I know you think very highly, as do I, about who Peyton Sanford is as a person. But
Absolutely.
first thing I said in the broadcast tonight, it appears on the outside from my vantage point that this team does not have strong enough leadership at the top. You tell me why that's wrong or right in your view.
With Fran as the leader, or are you talking to
Well,
players?
I don't know. I don't know where it lacks. If it's player, I would
I think
think.
Peyton's a really good leader. I think Brock is a really good leader. Those are kind of the two guys that have taken that mantle of being kind of vocal and kind of emotional leadership and trying to push guys. That's just and they both kind of just naturally gravitate towards that situation. But I don't really think it's a leadership thing. But I mean, Peyton said it. He was like, we were flat. Don't know why. We were just flat. And sometimes I think you just hope that he's able that you just hope that during the game something will click and they'll just kind of get moving, and they just never ever really did. And it's frustrating because I really think this team has some talent. I do. I think they've got some good shooters. Fran made a count. Josh Dix had only 1 of 5 tonight, and Fran, when asked about that one, basically pointed at he got mugged all night and couldn't get free. He was limping a little bit too. So I know Peyton and Josh are both banged up pretty good right now, which not making the injury excuse, but they are banged up. I mean, Peyton has the shoulder thing. He's got a the leg thing. He kind of like a hip kind of thing. So he was dealing with that too. So he was able to play, but Josh was limping a couple times tonight.
Tom, I know people get tired of talking about attendance, but there's a lot of pictures on social media here this evening of Carver, and I know at least a couple of your.
It's been like, but it was a typical crowd that we've seen most of this year.
How many people were actually there? ESPN.
I don't know.
NCAA says 8,000 the official box score. 8,000.
That would mean that it was over half full, and I don't think it was over half full. I would guess there might have been 5,000, so maybe a third full, 6,000. It was pretty light in terms of numbers, but I don't blame people.
No, I don't either.
It's an 8 o'clock game on a Tuesday night, and it's cold as heck out. I mean, who wants to go out and watch a basketball game? I don't care if if they were ranked number 1 and they were playing a number 5 team in the country or something, or.
Well, there's a big gap between where this team is at right now and what you just. There's a big gap in between.
Or if it was like the Cy-Hawk game, then maybe people would have showed up or something. But against a bad Minnesota team that's not been good most of the year, I don't blame people. I mean, a lot of people got to get up and go to work at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and it's tough to. I get that people get a lot of interaction off of those photos, and but I don't blame people for not showing up. I mean, it's just how it is. It's a cold night. There stinks. It's late. It's just there's a lot of reasons why people didn't show up, along with the basketball team not playing well.
Right.
That's part of it.
Well, Tom, this is another. I mean, we keep calling them must wins. I mean, they can't lose this Friday. I mean, if you want, I just home wins especially. I mean, if you were going to tell me after what we saw, 2 weeks ago with the win over Nebraska, the win over Indiana, that they would follow it up with 2 embarrassing losses on the road to a couple unranked teams, and then come back and lose to, on paper, maybe the worst team in the conference at home.
Yeah.
I would have said no way, but they've done that. So, how important is Friday's game, and what do you need to see as someone who's covered the sport as long as you have to make you
Mhm.
think any differently about this team at the end of the week?
Better effort, at least. I mean, that's the best thing you could see right now. If you play harder, the results will happen. It's just they just have to play harder and rebound better and play better defense. I mean, it was, um, Minnesota just they won the game in the first half in a lot of ways. I mean, they just uh, hit the gas on them and went on that 11-2 run, or I guess it was 13-2 run, and Iowa just never could um, get close again. I mean, I think they got within 2 at one point, but it was just they got 3 late, but Iowa just could not sustain anything. They just you felt like maybe if they got the lead at some point they would pull away and maybe beat this team, but they just couldn't get it. It's getting stops and getting buckets, and it's a simple game, and that's something they just didn't do tonight at all.
Last question here, and it's from
Yep.
Wilmot. I think you addressed this already. He wants to know about what's wrong with Josh Dix. You said he's nursing some sort of an injury at this point. Is that fair?
Yeah, he was limping around a little bit, but also he was, according to Fran, without saying it, he was getting mugged. He was getting held. Um, it looked like both Josh and Peyton were essentially, if they were wearing Kansas City Chiefs jerseys, they would have probably gotten flags thrown. Um, you know, as much as they were getting mugged. There's my little shot at the
Yeah.
Chiefs for getting so many flags
Yeah.
thrown
Go
their
Bills.
thrown for them all the time in these games. But that last 30 seconds, I mean, they were trying to run something for them, and they just could not get free from these guys because um, they were getting held. And Fran decided. I thought Fran would call timeout. He just didn't, and then he thought Seydoux was going to hit those 2 free throws and get within 1 and with 10 seconds left. But that's just not a lot of time to get something going with 10 seconds left. I would have called a timeout when they got past half court and just said, hey, let's set something up here. Let's get something good for Peyton, or let's get something good for Josh, and go from there. I will mention this too. Seydoux, after when we came out from post game, he was out there shooting free throws. So he
I
was.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's.
I tweeted out when I saw that. I tweeted out. I feel like I've seen this before because that's what we saw just a few days ago with Lucy Olson.
Yeah.
Missed a couple of big free throws at the end. She's right back out there on the court afterwards.
Yeah. Now between the 2 programs, what did they lost 8 in a row now? I think.
Incredible.
It's wild to think that both programs are trending towards being home in March. I can't remember the last time both programs were home in March.
And there's no guarantees for the conference tournament anymore either. You got to be top 14. So
yeah,
there are goals that are still attainable, but boy, I don't know if the clock can tick any faster than it is right now. Tom Caker to HawkeyeReport.com. Tom, what you got brewing over there at Hawkeye Report? Anything kind of keep their eyes open for as far as men's basketball or women's basketball?
Not really. Kyle will have women's basketball. He is not out in Seattle, but he'll have that covered tomorrow night. I'll have some stuff from the men's game tonight, and then we'll just keep trucking along. Although, boy, I think the Iowa fan base needs to see some wins. It's been a rough stretch. Let's just say that it's been a rough stretch for Iowa men's and women's basketball. And by the way, Iowa playing another Friday night game, and we know how the last couple Friday night games have gone for the Hawkeyes. It was the Wisconsin game, 116 points. The UCLA game that Iowa just got trucked in. So
the last 2 Tuesday games have not been good either.
no, they just haven't. It's just not been a good stretch.
Well, Tom, safe travels back to the Quad Cities.
Yep,
I know it's
thank
cold
you.
out. Don't break down, and we'll talk
I
to you.
will. Okay. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Appreciate it. Tom Kakert, HawkeyeReport.com. Always appreciate Tom for being here and giving us reaction fresh off Fran McCaffrey's post-game availability. I'm trying to be I'm trying to take advantage of the situation. I'm sort of tongue in cheek. Super chat if you want Fran gone. So maybe I should be more opportunistic with this show. So sort of tongue in cheek, but folks, super chat if you want Fran gone. We've got several people lined up on the call line, folks. Before we get to our next caller, our RTI Threads player of the game is Owen Freeman. Gave him a lot of easy buckets there in the second half. It just wasn't enough. Owen with 21 points, 10 of 14 from the field, 8 rebounds. He's got to learn how to go left. We've talked about that with Gary Close. I think that really teams are starting to scout that, and it does limit him because I'd like to see him consistently get 15 to 18 shots per game, and he's still hovering in that 8 to, well, tonight 14 shot attempts. But he was efficient, 21 points, 10 of 14. He is an RTI Threads athlete, so check it all out at rtithreads.com/NIL. You can also check out the official merch of Josh Dix, Peyton Sandfort, and so much more, including Iowa baseball that season creeping up on us quickly. rtithreads.com/NIL. The link to all of our great sponsors can be found in our descriptions on both the audio podcast platforms and here on YouTube. Again, rtithreads.com/NIL. We have a super chat coming in from Michael. Michael says, my daughter is a junior at Iowa. There was no way they were going to walk to Carver tonight. Not an excuse, but it was reality. Michael, I absolutely applaud you. I absolutely understand. But as you and I both know, this is not a one-game issue. And it's frankly, it's the epitome of the situation, right? Microcosm, as they say. So absolutely applaud your daughter for not taking a risk. But it's a much bigger problem than what we saw tonight. Hey, it's a Friday night game on this Friday. Let's see, Friday night, Penn State, and it's supposed to be warmer. So what'll be the excuse Friday? Bad basketball. That might be the only excuse left. So we shall see. Do appreciate the super chat, Michael. And Dave is back with another one. Did Minnesota play a bit of Pete Carroll Princeton style basketball? I heard the game on the radio, didn't really see it. Frankly, I know nothing about Pete Carroll. I don't know anything about Pete Carroll. So let's bring in Tony because Tony knows what he's talking about. Tony.
I'm not going to say I know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to tell you, Pete Carroll's, it was a lot of screens and backdoor cuts and stuff like that. And they played a very slow, methodical style of basketball.
I didn't notice a ton of back
No,
cuts.
there was not a lot of backdoor cuts and screens and action off that. This was not now, if you want to say, did they play a slow, methodical style of basketball that was similar to Pete Carroll and Todd Licklider? Yes, it was very similar to that, and it was a great coaching job, by slowing that game down and taking possessions out of the game because Iowa likes to get up and down and have a lot of possessions.
By the way, how do you like my super chat here?
You know what? It's a smart. It's a smart business move.
Well, it's not working because people aren't.
I know, and I want to give you a super chat, but I don't want to give you. It's like I've always said that the goal for this year was March Madness. Like that's it. Like that was the bar. I just wanted them to make the tournament. Like that. So that was my bar.
Are they going to make the tournament, Tony? Tony,
you gun to my head right now. No, but I don't want to say it's over. You know what I mean? I don't want to say.
I'm not saying it's over. It's not over until the conference tournament's over.
Yeah.
And but realistically, they're in trouble right now. They got some problems, and I don't know who they're going to steal a couple from. They got to steal games now. This is like the women. Like now, it's more feasible for the women to do it because I think it's easier to play on the road in the women's game than it is the men's game because you don't have the crowds. But what are the most likely road wins left on the men's schedule, Tony? You know the schedule like the back of your hand.
I'm still looking. If that tells you anything.
Well, I mean, I'm looking too. I don't. Ohio State's going to be tough. Rutgers is going to be
Did you
tough.
see what Ohio State did tonight?
No. What did they do?
Ohio State won at Purdue. I repeat.
Oh, that's
Purdue.
okay. Yeah, I did know that. We talked about that with Tom. So yeah, there's that game. Hey, how about going to Illinois?
Yeah, that's
maybe
not
you can steal one at Northwestern, but they won Iowa back for what Iowa did to them in Carver. At Nebraska is going to have to be a win, right? That's got to be like that's a must win, and frankly, they may have to steal one in College Park.
And Rutgers.
That's going to be a hard one. That is a tough. Iowa does not historically play well there, and that's a very talented Rutgers team that's growing and learning, as you know.
Yeah, and you wanted to get them now. You wanted to play Rutgers now. You didn't want to play them at middle of the end of February.
Tony, can I put you in the queue and then bring you back? Is that okay?
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, because my dog's whatever he wants out. So, and it's finally 25 degrees, so I can let my dog out for a few seconds. So yeah, no, that's fine. Yep.
Right.
You're good. You're good.
Wave's coming. Thanks you, Tony. Appreciate it. We'll bring you back here in a second. All right, let's go to our next caller. We have got Mr. Cody with us. Cody.
Cory, how are you?
Hi. Good.
Good. I'll be brief. I know you touched on it a little bit, and then I think James said it recently too. As far as leadership goes, is there maybe an issue that the best player on the men's team and the best player on the women's team are both transfers? You think that makes leadership a little more difficult? I'm giving it to Drew because like that guy can get by anybody. He can D up guys. He can hit the three. I don't think he's really fully been unleashed because I think he's trying to just be cool and fit in with the rest of the fellas. But between him and Lucy, I think the two transfers are the best two players on both of their respective teams. And since this is kind of a new era of transfers, I wonder if that factors into any of making the dynamic a little odd.
Well, I will say this. I can see that for the women. We've talked about it. But there's absolutely zero reason for that to be an excuse for the men. And I'm not saying you're saying it's an excuse, but Peyton Sandfort tested the NBA waters last year. Owen Freeman was Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And I think Josh Dix has a qualm to be named the best player on this team. I think Drew Thelwell might be the most complete, but I think that's more of just an indictment on Fran's high school recruiting than anything. I don't think there's I don't get the feel at all like there's been any struggle for leadership, voice, or power with this team. And by the way, Drew, as you know, Drew didn't play well tonight. He was part of the problem tonight, and he's been more often part of the solution than part of the problem. But I think that's more of maybe a claim for the women than the men.
What about? It feels to me like Peyton's more of a leader on the court. And I feel like that sometimes he takes a little bit of heat because he's a chucker sometimes. I mean, he'll get some of these.
His shots he has the worst shot selection I've seen from any. I've been watching Iowa basketball I've never seen a player and that he gets away with it. I mean, he just gets away with it over and over and over and over again. We hear about this green light that Fran has. And I know when he gets going, but he takes the worst shots and he flops. I mean, I find myself every game now, Cody, asking this question at least once or twice per game. I ask this question out loud, mind you. I say, what is Peyton Sandfort doing? I say that multiple times. I saw a play tonight in that second half in the backcourt where he's trying to thrash his body around a defender to get a steal. And you saw this, and he whiffed, and he threw himself to the ground. Like, I don't know what he's doing on some of these plays. And I know that sounds like I'm being really cold, but like, again, this guy tested the NBA waters. He was projected to be the best player on this team. He's not good enough. He takes bad shots. He's below average defensively. He has no real... He really doesn't have a game inside the three-point arc. Like, I don't understand what the hype was all about. I really don't. And I know hindsight's 20/20, but I don't get it.
I feel to a certain extent this is a case where Fran's green light has actually worked against the player, because to me, if Peyton could be maybe focused a little more versus kind of being a wild man out there. Sometimes it seems like he goes into business for himself a little bit. But I mean, if you could have him coached to where it's like, hey, don't, we're going to work you open for a shot, but like, you can move the ball. You don't have to just let everything go with your feet going one way and your shoulders not squared and stuff like that. I mean, because he hits those shots sometimes. So I don't know if that almost encourages it in his mind or what, but I feel like he could still be an NBA player if coached properly. I just feel like he's kind of too much of a wild card in Fran's system right now.
I'll tell you this, and this is more just a stylistic preference, but and Fran, I know he runs his stuff. He doesn't run a lot of set plays. Everything's motion. But I'll tell you this, when I watch Sanford, when I watched him over the last several seasons, I look at a guy that is not, his game not fit option number one. That's not a role that, to me, his game is built for. And it just like Duncan Robinson, his game was never the number one guy at Michigan. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys. Michigan's had a lot of them under John Beilein. They had a lot of guys that were tall shooters. Who's the other guy?
Stauskas.
Thank you, man. Nick Stauskas. That was the name I was looking for. He's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that fit that Peyton Sandfort mold. They were never they were certainly not the returning guy that was supposed to lead the team offensively. Iowa doesn't have, like, Josh Dix, you'd hope could maybe be that guy, but then you're not good enough defensively. So, that's the problem. You're just, in order to be competitive and get yourself to the tournament and maybe compete for a Sweet 16, you've got to be able to bring it on both ends in stretches. And right now, this team is very rarely bringing it on the defensive end. And yet now they're becoming more and more inconsistent on the offensive end, in part because they don't have consistency at the top. And then you have, last few games, you've had Thelwell and Dix faltering. So it's just like, it's a very fragile bubble. That's how I look at this whole team, this whole situation right now. This thing could spiral. I mean, they could get hot and start making shots, but this thing could spiral. They could lose to Penn State Friday and the wheels could come off.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, we were sitting at 10 points with 9 minutes and 30 seconds. That's Licklider. People bringing up Licklider. That's Licklider right there. But
when we've been saying this for a long time, though, when Fran's teams don't hit threes, it's almost impossible to win. It really is. It's almost impossible to win. You had UCLA the other night. They struggled from three all night, and they still won by 30.
Right.
I mean, they were phenomenal on the defensive end, and it's just amazing. We beat the same drum night after night. So.
Yep. So on my way out, I have one thing I'd like to propose. If we make the tournament this year, it's not looking good, but if we do, what do you think, Cory? Will you dye your hair like Dawson Garcia?
Those highlights? I don't even know what those were.
I don't either.
I don't even know how you do that.
I don't either.
They were like some stripes on a tiger. I've never seen that. Very strange. I'll tell you this. I'd love it if Iowa had gotten Dawson Garcia. They could use Dawson Garcia right now. And
100%.
That Minnesota team is much more physically gifted than Iowa. I don't know that there's another team in the conference that's not more physically gifted than Iowa. Think about how pathetic that. And I mean, seriously, I'm not saying that they're the worst team in the conference, but you really expect to be able to win consistently in this conference when you have like bottom barrel physicality, athleticism. Like, that's what they have right now. They've got skilled guys, but very little. You have Seydou Traore. Love the kid. Think he's got great potential. He is the most undisciplined defender. And they rode him in the second half because I think they had to. He made a few plays, made some shots, made a big three in that second half. But by the way, Orange Chicken wants to know, is this a quad 3, quad 4 loss? Do you know, Commander Cody? I don't know. I haven't looked.
I don't.
I'm sure Tony knows.
Yeah, I bet it probably is a quad 3. It's got to be. I mean, because are they at 5? Are they over 500 now?
They're 10-9.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm a little. Yeah, I don't know. This one I was kind of penciling in as a win, and then Penn State gives us fits. They're going to be way more athletic than us, and I don't know. Not looking at the road games, you talked about them a little bit. There's a lot of snake pits out there still. I mean, Rutgers. I don't know. Yeah, it's.
Rutgers
I don't
is-
know, man. Fingers crossed, but doesn't look good.
Rutgers is really athletic.
Mhm. Yeah, look at the team we had to, I mean, it's a different team, I know, but like they weren't that great, and we needed a banked in 3 from Wieskamp that one year to beat them. And it's tough to win there. That Cracker Jack box is loud, and they feed off the crowd and everything. But thanks, Cory. See you later.
All right. Appreciate it, sir. How about this? We've got Lisa Donlinger in here. I hope I'm pronouncing. Lisa, I apologize if I mispronounce. I see your name, and then I'm always like, I say it in my own head, but hopefully I'm not mispronouncing it. So I do appreciate you, Lisa. Always appreciate seeing your face and your name here and your comments. She says, I really thought tonight was the night they'd get back on track. Feeling really sad right about now. Sending you all the love. Don't forget to hit the like button for Cory. Always appreciate your positivity, Lisa. And please listen to Lisa. Hit that like button. It's very much appreciated. And we always know we'll get a positive comment from a great Hawkeye. And Lisa, hope you're safe out in California, Lisa. Lemansky with the super chat. Cory, thanks for the shot selection comment. So many off-balance Peyton shots. Youth shoot with balance, kids. Youth shoot with balance, kids. All right, I read that better that time. Yeah, he's trying to draw fouls on threes, and I mean, Tony. I mean, you can't defend what Peyton's doing with shot selection right now, can you? I mean, he just.
So
and I know the shots aren't
what was it? There was one shot he took right in front of the bench, I want to say, towards the end when they were making the comeback, and Fran just literally put his hands in his head in his hand, just like, what the are you like? He has the green light, but then it's like you've got to realize score, what the flow of the game is and everything. I forgot who it was.
Doug.
I wasn't. It's all right. Don't worry.
You're Tony. Tony, has he? I mean this seriously, and I know I sound like I'm ripping the kid. Has he ever? He's been here 4 years. Has he ever shown you or me that he understands what a good shot versus a bad shot is? Answer that question, yes or no. Has he ever shown that? The answer is no.
How many games? I know you're right. I like the kid.
I do too, but he's
right.
never shown the ability.
Yeah, no,
he does not know what a good shot is versus a bad shot. Part of the problem is he hits tough shots.
Yeah.
But you know who else hits tough shots? Dirk Nowitzki, Luka Doncic. I can go down to all the Kobe Bryant, all the difference between.
Can I draw a little comparison here that's like home to Iowa fans, because you're throwing out NBA names that some people might not know. Jordan Bohannon. Well, I mean, people don't know their game as well. They know who they are. They may not watch them as much. The name I'm going to throw out, people know on this show. Jordan Bohannon took a lot of tough shots, but it never really seemed like he was forcing as much as Peyton is.
But Jordan didn't take like these ultra.
I know that's what I'm saying. Like he took long shots, and he took shots that maybe didn't seem well, but I think the amount of shots that Peyton has taken were like, holy cow, dude, take a step back, realize like a lot of things going on.
He's taken off to Lemansky's. He's taken off balance shots. These aren't just contested. He's coming off screens off balance, throwing his. By the way, I'm waiting for him to get an offensive foul call, because in the NBA, you kick them legs out like he's doing, you're gonna get called for offensive foul, and so be it. Fair enough.
I do want to add on to what you were saying, because we had a discussion in the chat as the game was ending or whatever about like I forget who it was. They're saying like Iowa should not have fouled with 51 seconds left, and it's like because they were down 3 with 51 seconds left.
Well, they did it twice. They did it over a minute.
They did, and they should have. My argument is they should have, because knowing time and score. What was it? Seydou Traore was our first 3 with what, like 6.5 minutes left or something dumb like that.
I don't think that has anything to do with it, Tony. I think
it's just the way the game was going. Yeah,
they were fouling a 37% shooter. That's what I think it comes down to. So you're playing the odds at that point.
And then I mean,
but I'm not saying it was. I questioned it too, because I'm like, hey, it's too early to be fouling. But then you're like, man, he's a 37% shooter. How many?
You got to extend the game. You got to
rolls off that back rim did they get?
3. I know of at least 3. I can tell you at least 3. 2 of them were from that guy, and then another one was from the other guy who was like 34% or something like that. We're like, how often do you see something just die on the heel and then fall? Like die on the heel of the rim and then just fall. And that happened 3 times. Not saying that's the difference in the game or whatever. Like, they didn't deserve to win. By any means. Like, they did not deserve to win at all.
How are you feeling in that second half? How were you feeling as big of a Hawkeye?
It's almost like it's tough because I'm a fan of the program and I also like Fran too. But I also know the temperature of the fan base. Like, I'm stalling because I'm trying to put this in good words of like, I like Fran, I love the program, but I also know like the temperature of the fan base, it's not going to be good. I don't even care. I'll honestly say, so say they make a miracle run, they win some of these games we're talking about on the road, and they sneak into the tournament, and they even win a game. Let's even say they miraculously make the second weekend and get that sweet. Is that going to be enough for people to come back? There are so many people that are literally.
Hold on. If they wait the second weekend, if they turn this thing around and make the second weekend, it's gonna change a lot. Tony, we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about it because it won't happen. Lemansky, thank you for the super chat, sir. Do appreciate that. Tony, have you gotten your RTI Threads gear yet?
Have not. What happened is I called them. The tumbler was in stock. The shirt was in stock. The trucker hat, the Owen Freeman trucker hat that I got, comes from a different distribution center. So they had to wait for that. But I said, so should it be here like middle of next week, which middle of this week? And they're like, yeah. So I should have it for Friday night's post-game show, assuming, I don't know if I'm assuming you'll probably still be doing one on.
Yeah.
Friday.
Oh, yeah. We don't stop. We don't stop. This team can tank and lose every game, Tony. I'll be right here to catch all the tears. Folks, head over to rtithreads.com/NIL. This is the NIL division. You can click on this link up here and find baseball, basketball, football, and volleyball apparel.
I don't think we looked at Owens last time. We looked at Dixon. We looked at Peyton's, but I don't think we clicked on Owens.
Some pretty cool logos here too, folks.
Yeah, Owen was pretty cool.
The gear, absolutely. And
yeah, that's I got one of the. I don't know if I got the white or black hat of that one.
This is probably a good one to search, and a really, really fair price on these.
Yeah.
Custom hats, beanies for the cold winter months, and again, these are custom logos, and they benefit, of course, the athletes and this show from the Hawkeye of the Storm. You can search all your merchandise needs and great gift ideas too. Always good to give your friends and family some Hawkeye gifts, even during the dog days of the season, so to speak. So check it all out. NIL apparel, NIL division over at rtithreads.com. Click on NIL athletes. Click the link in the description to learn more.
Maybe you should have them do some designs for you.
Maybe that's in the works and you don't know it yet.
I'm sorry, I wasn't putting that. Probably
you'll just have to be patient here. Just like fans are going to have to wait to see what Beth does about Fran, right?
I would, we're not privy to these. And I asked that of Don, and I couldn't stay on that show, that hangout show you had. Like, I didn't really get a clearance from them. Like, do they talk in season? That's what I really want to know. Like, how often does the AD talk to you in season about stuff like that? Is it always just like, does every AD do the, okay, we'll talk after season, and which that makes sense, and most of them should.
Yeah, I think in general that's what happens, but I don't know. Don would be a better person to ask. Gary would be a better person to ask. I hope to get Gary back this Friday.
That would be, and I hate to ask him that because it probably brings up a sour time, but he kind of experienced it on the staff at Iowa. Gary.
Oh,
with
Gary.
with how Iowa pretty much pushed Tom out, and they said, "Yeah, this is it. Like, this is what you got. You got one more year." Like, how did those? I don't want to push them like with an uncomfortable question like that, but I mean, you would know better than I. Like,
I think it would have to be pretty extreme for any change to be made in season. I think it would just take something so.
Oh no, I'm not saying anything's going to happen in season, but like, how soon do those conversations start happening?
Yeah, my guess is they're maybe happening behind closed doors, but I don't think there's probably these in-season expectations given to Fran that weren't already established preseason. Like, if they don't make the goal or the expectation, the marks, then you evaluate things, but you give your guy until March to figure it out whether fans agree with that or not.
And it's not like Fran's a dumb guy. Let's be honest. I'm sure he knows where he stands here. Now,
I don't know what he knows. I don't know what he knows, because here's the other thing. What's his level of pride / ego? And that, I know that's people don't like that word ego.
Yeah,
Every head coach has an ego.
Oh,
Tony.
yeah.
Every one of them does. So
100%.
my question is, what is Fran's ego size right now? Because if it is big, he may not think, he may think like,
he may just think it's a bump, and then I've got all these recruits coming in,
and I know he's shown lack of awareness in the past, like with the Adam Woodbury eye poke thing. A good, fair question that was asked by the media, and his response is, ask an intelligent question. He thought it was even stupid that you would suggest that he comment on something like that. So I wouldn't be shocked if somebody in the media asked him at year's end, they don't make the tournament, somebody in the media asks, Fran, do you think he should be retained? He might look at him and say, ask an intelligent question. You know, it is an intelligent question, but he doesn't think so, because I'm not saying that's the case. Maybe he is very aware of his own stock going down. The other thing is, I've watched this team all year, and as I watch the sidelines, I've commented on his lack of seeming fire or zeal.
Real quick? Go ahead.
I do wonder at times if there's something else going on that we're not aware of. We've talked about health. I don't know if it's health. We've talked about leadership. I don't know if it's leadership. But, man, I watched the body language from that whole bench and the assistant coaches and the bench players, and I just see like a lot of, like, I saw Matt Gatens a couple times. Did you see Matt Gatens a couple times tonight kind of go like that? Like, I know there's frustration. You get that. You want frustration there. But it just looks like nobody has answers, and we'll just have to see how long this continues.
Can I ask? I wasn't trying to interrupt you. And
no, go ahead.
My follow-up to that is, if Fran McCaffrey is Fred Hoiberg, and I'm just talking about demeanor, personality, and everything, would we be having this conversation?
What are you talking about?
Well, like, are we having this conversation about Fran and lack of fire because we've seen so much fire from him in the first part of his coaching career?
Yeah, no, of course not. You're asking an obvious question, because that is who Fran has always been. And it looks like somebody needs daddy. So I'm going to pull you out.
Go ahead. Yeah, put me out, and then I'll be back in. That's
all right. We're going to pull you back in. Let's go to our next caller. We got Vincent here. Vincent, welcome.
Hey, Cory, how you doing? I know a lot of the things I was going to touch on, most people have, but the first thing I'll start out with, Fran's not going anywhere. I know not because Beth Getz is going to let him go. That's just not going to happen. I think he's got too much stock in the Iowa program. Unless he walks away on his own, that's the only way we'll see him go. But he's not, even if he would have this.
Is it possible, from, in your opinion, that that the conversation is had after the year's over, if they don't make the tournament, to where it's more inviting for Fran to walk, where the administration kind of helps that process along, if you will?
Do I think that conversation's had its season end? I think any AD has that conversation if the circumstances warrant it. And I think in this case it would, just given it's not just that we're losing, it's how we're losing. So yes, I think absolutely that conversation's had, but and you were just alluding to it with the prior caller, is there something going on, or is he just checked out? We don't know. So I think there's no chance, at least from my take, that he's fired unless there's just a catastrophic downslope with the season. And I mean catastrophic as in we maybe just win a couple more games. Then you can look at.
You don't think? Do you think? I mean, is that because of the situation here, or is that your take on the big picture of college basketball, that it takes more than 2 straight non-NCAA tournament years to deserve a firing?
Well, there are 2 reasons. One is the financial attachment that we have to Fran. And I know Tom Kakert brought that up, and he's a good, reliable source when it comes to information like that. The financial hit that we would take, I don't think we can, or the University of Iowa can take that. But also, too, if you look at Fran's body of work over 15 years, I don't want to say he's got a pass, but I just don't think this season, if it doesn't turn out well, is enough for Beth to say, hey, Fran, we got to let you go. I don't see that happening unless he on his own. This is what kind of makes me curious, or what I think could happen is Fran on his own decides to walk off. That's just my own thought, is if he leaves at season's end, he just might say, hey, yeah, I'm burnt out, or I'm just moving on to something else. That's the way I would see it playing out, but I don't see it firing by any stretch, unless it was, again, something catastrophic. Now, what is uber concerning to me is it's yes, obviously it's the defense that we have, but I'm sure you'll recall this as I say it, but our lack of rebounding, both on the offensive and defensive end. I mean, we have a Minnesota team that's getting 2 and 3 attempts on an offensive rebound for putbacks or tapbacks, and you're just thinking to yourself, like, where is our rebounding? But then also you look at the only person out there that's even around 6'10" is Freeman, and I don't know how many times I saw Josh Dix guarding a 6'10", 6'11" Garcia in the low post. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing down there? This again brings us back to our defense. And one question I'd like to ask, I know Gary's not on, but one of those questions I'd like to ask Gary is, what is this defense that Fran plays? Is it a help zone? Like, what is it that we're doing? Because we're always out of position. Or is that just me? Am I just nuts?
They're constantly switching up, right? They go zone,
Yeah,
they go match zone, they go. They're not good at anything. They're the old jack of all trades, master of none. And frankly, I observed the same thing as you in this game. I don't remember when Owen's fourth foul came, but part of, I think, the issue there was foul trouble. We also saw Riley Mulvey play about 4 minutes, and he was playing when they were behind. Had a horrible closeout where he jumps into the shooter and gives him 3 free throws, unfortunately.
Right.
But they just don't. Yeah, they don't have many solutions defensively, really any, and they don't have solutions right now from a consistency standpoint on the offensive end, because they've got very sporadic shooters. They have very erratic shooters, people like the Sanford brothers. Hey, Drew Thelwell was lighting up. He was 0 for 4 from 3 tonight. I mentioned Sanford, 1 of 8. Traore's 1 of 3. Josh Dix, 0 of 1. Price, 0 of 1. Dembele, 0 of 1. I mean, Dembele played 4 minutes. Did he see the floor in the second half? I don't think he did.
I don't know if he saw it in the second half, but you were spot on with the Peyton Sanford shot selection, and we all see it as fans. It's not just you or I. We all see it as fans. And the difference, like the prior caller was mentioning, Jordan Bohannon's shot selection, it might have been
difficult.
Yeah, but yes, but it was still a good shot. He was making sure that he was getting room, sidestepping, or either pump faking and sidestepping to get a clear, clear shot at the basket. Where Dix, he's just coming off like it's a horse game, throwing stuff up that you as soon as he takes it, you're like, why are we taking anyway? When you said that, in prior callers have said it, I'm like, I absolutely agree with that, because it's, for him, the green light, and I hate to use that term, but yep, that's what he's got. He's got a green light from Fran, and I get it, because Fran wants his guys to feel like, look, I don't want to have pressure of being hesitant on my shot, because then it just takes down your percentage. I want these guys to feel comfortable if they know they got a good shot to take it. But he's taken that and ran with it. You give him an inch, but he's taken a mile with that. It's just, and then lastly, I know it's getting late for you. Tom Caker kind of touched on it. And you did the same. When you're coming back from an East Coast trip that you've been out there for nearly a week, it absolutely plays a factor. And from what I could tell, looking at this game, it almost looked like we were playing in sand at times, where we were just a step slow, step behind. Flat is probably a very good term to use, but it does play a factor when you're trying to return. It's almost like you still have that hangover of jet lag, and you haven't shook it off yet. So we'll see what happens come Friday. But again, all I wanted to at least touch on was I don't see Fran leaving by firing, not at this point, unless there's something more catastrophic. But other than that, Cory, thank you so much for the time. Have a good night, buddy.
Appreciate it, sir. Yeah, and I tend to agree with Vincent. I don't think Fran gets fired if they don't make the tournament. I kind of led with that. Like, I can go back and forth on whether I think he should or he shouldn't. If 2 straight seasons of missing the NCAA tournament's enough, but ultimately I tend to go this direction, that Beth will not fire him. But if we're combining the chances Beth fires him with the chances, in my opinion, that he may walk on his own volition, I think maybe it's closer to 50-50, or at least better than some people think, and which I think is basically the same thing that Vincent said. And, we've talked about all the puzzle pieces aligning, right? With Patrick gone, we know Connor's gone. Connor's maybe going to marry a billionaire, maybe. And then you have Jack, who's heading to Butler. You have, I believe, Merritt McCaffrey, the daughter of Fran and Margaret, who is maybe 1 year away from graduating, from finishing grad school at Iowa, to my understanding. So there are things that line up there. And then the other thing is he's not getting any younger. His teams are struggling. So, yeah, I still think something might happen. Might. Am I confident? No. Am I confident it's going to be because of a firing? No. But I think something might happen. And right now I'm probably 50-50 if they don't make the tournament. If they make the tournament, nothing happens unless he just leaves, which is always possible. But I think for anything to have any chance of happening as it relates to a firing, it would need to be a missed tournament and maybe worse. Let's go to our next caller. We've got Doug. Whoa, Doug. Well, I see reflections.
Oh, I can turn off the camera. I'm in the car.
Oh, okay. Well, be safe, man.
No, someone else is driving now.
Okay.
I've been waiting. We're almost home.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just pulled over and stopped, and anyway, yeah. So
you have a good time tonight?
No.
Well, at least you guys had a big crowd there.
No, we didn't. But one good thing about when the crowd is small like this, me and my dad don't have to sit together, and he likes that.
Hey, at least they got the win, though.
What?
I'm sorry. My mind's somewhere else. Go ahead, Doug. My bad. Go ahead, Doug.
No. Well, the first thing I want to say is that was the quietest. I want to pray for that cheerleader because everyone was leaving and nobody was paying attention, and they were playing that a Lone Ranger song, and all we hear is a thud. And that was the scariest. That was really scary because, as everything you mentioned, Tom mentioned, because it was just really scary. And I'm glad he moved, but everyone was leaving at that time too. So that's what, nobody was paying attention either. And it was just really scary, but
you didn't see it happen.
No, like I said, everyone was leaving. I was talking to the person behind me about how much the game was horrible. And, and all of a sudden we just hear a thud. You could hear the thud.
You left before the game was over?
No. Others were during that timeout, though.
Gotcha.
So,
I have never seen a crowd that small, Doug. Have you?
No, that's the smallest crowd we've probably ever been to, right? Yeah, the smallest crowd we've been to. We've been.
Cory in the chat says he's taking his fiance to the game on Friday, so let's hope there's a bigger crowd. Are you heading out for the game Friday?
Probably not. We probably shouldn't have went to this one, but we have tickets to the Wisconsin game, so we'll see. And the only reason why I didn't get off this beforehand was, like I said, we were waiting about an hour and a half, and I've been listening to you while we're almost home. So we just needed the caller, Cory. He would have got me all the way home, I'm pretty sure. That was a joke. But anyway, Franz will earn getting fired. I told you, as soon as he doesn't make the Big Ten tournament, I think that's when Beth needs to let him go. But he still has that in play. And
so if he doesn't make the Big Ten tournament, he's gone. But if he does make the Big Ten tournament, he's not gone, regardless of instant plays.
He gets to play the Big Ten tournament.
No, I know that, but I'm saying if they don't make the NCAAs,
he should be gone. Athletic director's job. Bob Bowlesby was hired in 1995 to replace the winningest basketball coach and the winningest football coach. He did that in 1998. That's what an athletic director's job was. The only athletic director in Iowa history not to hire a football coach was Gary Brada. So it's not normal for athletic directors not to hire coaches. That's not what they do. What Gary Brada did was not what's normal. Athletic directors hire coaches. Well, I mean, she's going to replace Kirk, and she's going to replace Fran at some point, and her legacy is dependent on when she does that and how she makes the transition. You know, maybe she doesn't fire Fran after this year, but her legacy depends on what she does. And, you know, we don't know yet. We don't know what will happen this season. Fran is on the hot.
Do you believe this team will recover and make the tournament?
No.
Okay.
You can't lose to Minnesota at home and give me hope. I mean, losing Minnesota at home, this was the one game the reason why I had tickets to this game, and they offered me the mini pack and they said choose games. I thought this was a for sure win. I just didn't think they'd lose to Minnesota at home. I know Garcia is whatever he is, but I mean, like your first caller said, this guy, because I know this guy from UNI, the Minnesota coach. He was up there when I was going to school there, and he is basically in his last year. He won't be at Minnesota after this year, and so I have a hard time right now seeing Fran be our coach next year just by where we're at. So, but.
Here, let's give you a softball question. Was this a good choice for RTI Threads player of the game, Owen Freeman, with 21 and 8?
They had Sadhu on the radio, so.
Oh, Sadhu. I'm with all due respect to Sadhu, that's great. But Sadhu is the biggest freak of the game, and you know what, Doug? This sounds really bad, but when I saw Sadhu get fouled, I knew this game was over.
Me too.
I knew he wasn't making the front end.
I know.
You knew that too, didn't you? I'm sorry. We knew that, right?
Yeah.
You got in front end, and then what? You got their big guy that's, you know, mountain line too.
Well, I just want to make one more point and get off. No, Fran's officially on about the hot seat, and if anyone doesn't believe that, they're kind of delusional. But you know, a lot can happen. And what is there something you want to say? My dad's sighing over there. Anyway,
Doug,
we just want to win games. Yeah, thank you.
Are you between? Let's see. Are you between like Marshalltown and Nevada now?
Yes, I am. I'm almost to State Center. Good job.
I promise you, I don't have your car GPS, so.
No, we really are almost to State Center. Good job.
I figured that's where you were. So drive safe, Doug. I know there's deer out there, and he's gone. RTI Threads player of the game, Owen Freeman, 21 points, 10 of 14 from the field, 8 rebounds. And we're proud to present our RTI Threads player of the game, brought to you by RTI Threads. Let's go to what I think is going to be our last person. Oh, we're back. We're back. Tony, what else you got for me, bud, before I hang up?
Like, where did all that stuff like come from? Like, I know that's like the new thing to say, like, oh, we're back. Like, you know, the Bears got Ben Johnson. We're back. Like, where did that come from?
Well, the Bears aren't back.
No, but, I'm a Bears fan, and I'll even admit that. So go ahead.
Real quick, I'm not gonna take you back out of here. Let's add James to the conversation. James just jumped in late. James,
so I was here and then I left because you had a couple people on, so I just didn't feel like waiting. I
didn't close it out before we got here. So welcome back, James. I know you got a lot to say. Are you ready for Fran to be gone as well?
I mean, I think obviously it should happen, but I'm a proponent of like. I know they're in a tough situation. They're gonna be a tough situation in that, and I said in the chat where it's like I feel like obviously it's a money situation is ultimately the school situation or school's choice and the fact of the buyout, not just the best choice. So I don't want people to be like, oh, if Beth didn't choose the buyout, it might not be her choice just to choose the buyout, right? Because the school still has to finalize a buyout, if that makes sense, right? So like, might not 100% be her choice of like, yes, she wants them gone, but the school doesn't want to pay the buyout. She has no choice, if that makes sense, right? Like that's what I'm saying.
How true is that, Tony? You want to fact check James?
The school has to pay him.
Like, no, yeah, they got to pay him. Like, and then like,
yeah.
what if they?
But I think.
Go ahead.
Oh no. I'm sorry. I just realized somebody else that just logged on. Go ahead, James.
No, I'm just saying, like, the school is a final one that's gonna have to pay that buyout money. So at the end of the day, they're gonna have to be the ones to choose whether or not. Like, I could say Beth could want him gone. Beth could be like, I want him gone. I don't think he's done enough. But the school could be like, we're not paying the 6.5. He's staying, and he stays because they don't want to pay the 6.5. So I'm saying, but to Doug's point, it's not all. It might not be best choice in the ultimate say of things. Is what I meant by that.
Well, what are they supposed to do? If you consider a guy to be I'm not saying he's a lame duck coach, but if they determine if Beth believes he's a lame duck coach, what do? You just continue. You just say, well, we're just going to
School
keep
might
going.
make it that way because they don't want to pay 6.5. Is what my point is. Because they might be like, I'm not paying the 6.5.
They gotta have the money.
Yeah.
If they don't have the money, what our hands are tied. Like, what can they do? Like,
Yeah, like
if they don't have the 6.5, and it doesn't go
They-
like. I've
they
heard,
have
who was the guy that we were talking to from Wapello? That was drinking the wine the other night.
Oh, Tom. Yeah, he just tried to
Tom.
jump on. He just tried to.
He was saying that like the money's there, and I've heard this from people. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just blind.
But didn't Tom
People are saying-
Kager just say it wasn't there? He thought
I
it
don't know.
wasn't
I
there?
didn't listen to Tom Kaker.
No,
Sorry,
he
I was-
brought
I
up
was
the
out of-
buyout. He brought up the buyout,
Yeah.
but I don't know that a person can say it's not there. That's
Yeah.
But then you
But-
got to pay a new coach too.
Right.
Why is it that? Can I just ask? Why is it as soon as I try to get off this show, all these people?
We send out the bat signal.
No, my point more to that, Corey. Sorry to take up more of your time, but
Sure you
my
are.
point to that was more just even if they have the money, I'm not so sure the schools, whoever's above Beth's gonna be like, yeah, I'm not paying 6.5. If he has however many years he has left, she's gonna be like, I'm not paying 6.5. Even if they have the money, they might be like, we're not paying that because we don't want to pay that, right? When we can just not pay that and still have it less. That's just something I see that could happen. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that point, but that's something that I think people don't always consider. Like, yeah, Beth makes the decision at that point, but just people above her that also make other decisions too when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But I said earlier in the thing too, I said I think there's a very high probability they don't make the Big Ten tournament just because Rutgers is behind them, and I know Rutgers is hard with obviously two amazing basketball talents in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, right? Like those are two amazing basketball talents, but like I feel like they haven't gelled because they have two different kind of guys. Right? You have Bailey, who's more of a shot chucker. He's not really doesn't really seem to fit the system. He's chucking a lot of shots, and Dylan Harper is obviously Dylan Harper, right? So, but that team's really good, and you have a Washington team who's 1-6, but who says we don't lose to them, right? We just lost to a one-win basketball team now, right?
Yeah.
And then you
No,
have a Northwestern and Penn State, and that makes
They proved tonight there's no game on the schedule that's safe.
yeah. And that's the bad thing when you're in the lower half of the Big Ten, right? And you're in the very lower half of the Big Ten. I think what they're 5th or 6th from last. I think I seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not a good spot to be in, especially when the Final Four don't make it. And even if you do make it as what it was 14 seed, that doesn't guarantee whatever it is doesn't guarantee you can get because you probably lose in the first round anyways, right? So like it's not gonna.
Hey, but James, at least we got a women's basketball game tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean they haven't played very well either. So I mean they've
They've
struggled.
only
so-
lost 5 straight, James. Be
know.
patient. They've only lost 5 straight.
I know it's just it's a frustrating time to be a.
Where would
Go
you
ahead.
put Hannah on their top list of players? Like, and there with probably, I don't think she flew out commercial or they got a private.
It's not like she didn't, from what I heard from people.
What
But
are you asking, Tony?
Like,
what do you
where
ask?
would you put Hannah in their top? Like, they're without their third best player. Like, where does Hannah fall in? Like, I'm trying to think of the best.
I mean, Lucy's their best player. I don't even know. I don't know who their best players are. I don't. I made the comment.
But you'd say top 3.
she is for sure top 3. I feel like
top 3. Yeah, I'll put her in my top 3. But I
Just
don't
to
know. I don't know who the third is. Is it Sydney? Is it Aaliyah Guyton?
So you could even say top 2 for Hannah.
Is
really.
it O'Grady? I don't know. Yeah, top 2 are I think Stolke and Lucy. But man,
I'm just trying to say you're going on the road, short trip, without your second best player for a second game in a row.
can I?
lost 4 straight before.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2 more things and then I get off. First off, with the whole Jordan Bohannon thing, I put it in the thing too. Where I said the difference between J-Bo and Peyton is a lot, but one thing with J-Bo, and especially when he got older in his career, was every shot J-Bo put up, I trusted it going because I trust he knew that was a good shot, if that made sense, right? Like Peyton
Tony,
shoots it, and I'm like,
can we agree that Peyton's shot selection is
Oh, yeah.
horrific?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying J-Bo would take those shots, but I know J-Bo knows he can make those shots. It's the difference between like Peyton just shooting those shots and J-Bo
He's
shooting
just
those
forcing
shots.
it. It's a force.
Yeah.
It's like I have to do it because they think they're going to make this 15-point shot to get them back in the game. That's what it seems like. Once they stopped trying to settle for threes, they finally kind of got back in the game. They still didn't deserve to win, but it felt like they were forcing the issue with the three. Sometimes you sometimes fall in love with the three, and you know this coaching basketball too, James. You don't always have to have threes to get them back in the game. It
And
may
that's
not be the best shot.
and that's one thing I don't understand why we go. And you saw late in this game it worked, and I didn't watch some of the game because I had a game tonight, so I didn't watch some of the game. But like even late, like when I came out of the timeout with it's an interesting thing. What did they first thing to do? Post feed bucket, post feed bucket. Why are we not trying to get the post feed to feed inside and go back outside? We're not doing a lot of that, and we used to do that a lot with Luka, and we did that a lot with last year. And I don't understand why they kind of got away from that. They should throw in, and I get he hasn't played as well. I get he hasn't played as well as what he did before, but like still, even the post feed, you get the ball inside, they collapse, and then you pass it back out, and you get more open threes because they got to collapse and only because they got to at least like account for him, right? Especially if he starts getting 8 points in a row or 6 points in a row, they got to start counting for him. They might suck down a little bit on defense, and then you're getting the key out, and they're more open for threes, and they have more catch and shoot probability than having somebody right there because they don't throw it inside a lot.
James, I gotta let you go, but I love you.
Yep.
You know what to do. Appreciate
Yep,
your
for
call.
sure. And I'll try to catch you tomorrow. Hopefully we can get the win. The girls can get back on the right track. But without, it's gonna be tough. But I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, James. Thank you, sir. Always enjoy your calls. We got Dom here. Dom always wants to call at the very end.
Hey, I was asking for the number in the chat. I couldn't find it. I'm not good at the
How do you
stream.
not know the number by now?
Well, I should
515-216-36. 36. I don't know. You say it. So.
You don't even know the number, Tony. Will you call in on stream?
My bad. Tony, the Bears going to be all right. Don't listen to Cory.
No, I don't. I'm a Bears fan, and I don't think they're going to be all right.
515-635-1601. There you go.
I was kind of close. I said some of those numbers, Cory.
Okay, my question is, and I'm gonna get past the negative Fran stuff and focus on just the alternate. So if he doesn't return, how many commits do they have right now? They've got at least 3 or 4, right? And they're all markedly talented.
Like 5, don't they, Tony?
No, they've got the Diakate kid who was from Connecticut, who Connecticut was recruiting after.
They've got
the Johnson, Arganu, whatever his name was. Who you still count.
He's there right now, but then they also have the Shabazz kid, right?
Shabazz kid is 26, and he's an Assumption kid. He goes to Davenport Assumption, but he's not till next year. He's not a 25 kid. Well, he's not a 25 kid, but he is committed as 26.
Dom didn't say 25. He just said how many recruits.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know if we were talking 25. And then they have it's like 99.9% certain that Joshua kid's committing. It's supposed to be happening either Wednesday or Thursday.
Well, how many for just next season are coming? 3 or 4?
That's how it's 3.
Okay, and how many do they lose this year? Just Peyton?
Peyton, well, then obviously Thelwell, unless something miraculously happens with that. And then I think Riley has served his 4 years. Obviously, if you get a new coach, he's probably not going to be welcome back. So you free up that. I mean, I'm just being honest about it. I'm not. I mean, that was sorry. Side note, can I just say 10 seconds about Riley?
I've called you 3 different names, and I've gotten none of them right. Tony. Riley is not coming back, even if Fran's back.
Well, he shouldn't. And I think his scholarship just has been yanked for that awful foul on the 3-point shooter. That was just horrendous. That was awful. Go ahead.
All right. He's not coming. What I'm saying, he's not coming back. Fran will honor his 4th year, and that'll be it.
So they're lacking a ton of size right now. Like they're unathletic. They have nobody under the rim besides Freeman. So all the recruits I've seen are adding to that problem, but they're going to lose another guard.
Well,
right?
I think if you're going to say that all the recruits we're adding are unathletic.
Oh no! Sorry, no. No. I'm saying they're adding to the problem that we don't currently have athletes. Like that's supposed to address the lack of size because all the recruits are about 6'8", right? From what I've seen.
Yeah, they're that typical six.
They don't.
Six,
Okay,
6 to
can I
6'9".
simplify this debate back and forth? Dom is saying Iowa doesn't have any athletic bigs coming in.
Oh no, they do have athletic bigs coming in. That's what I'm saying.
They don't have athletic. They don't have any bigs.
Diakate is about 6'10".
No, they definitely have some size.
He's 6'10", and I think they want to say he's got like a 7'4" wingspan. Like
okay,
which wingspan you don't?
You're right. I forget Diakate, but they don't.
I'm probably butchering the guy's name, but
actually, I think isn't it Diakite? Isn't it like the kid from
something,
Virginia?
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, you're right about that. But most of the guys that they've landed that have been good athletes, Seydu, this kid from Miami who was a big Fran recruit prior to committing to Larrañaga, and then of course is pulled out now is here. A lot of the guys that have been good athletes have been 6'8" or less. They have not had athletic bigs at Tony. They have not had athletic bigs here.
I see what you mean, Cory.
As great as Luka Garza has been, Luka Garza, Riley Mulvey, Owen Freeman, Ryan. They don't, in general, they have recruited very Josh Ogundale.
I see what you mean. You're right. Yes, you're talking like a strict
right.
5. You're right.
Is probably an exception to that. I think he's got a lot of, based on what I've seen from him, he's still raw.
Yeah.
Oh, he is.
So that's the problem. It's like they're always missing a piece with Fran, and they're going to add pieces next year that look good, but is what they're losing going to once again, like we'll get the good in, but then say to ourselves again, oh, there's another missing piece, but it could be here next year. But then we're always trading the piece needed. We give up a piece we have for a piece we need every year with Fran.
Well,
that seems to be the problem.
I'm not endorsing Fran for the future, but I'm saying
sure.
Drew Thelwell was an excellent grab, and they were able to get him out of the portal for 1 year. The ideal is that you're able to do that here and there and fill spots that way. Fran's done a pretty good job in the portal, but they need the nucleus to be more athletic, more defensive minded. And
I think the nucleus is heading that way.
That's what I'm saying, Tony.
I'm sorry.
To Tony's point, I think the nucleus might be headed more so. I think we are seeing a shift. Tony would probably agree with this. I think we've seen a bit of a shift as it relates to either whether we want to attribute it to just recruiting success, strategy, but the guys that are committed, they're better athletes and probably a little more defensive minded. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't mean they'll work out, but they don't have as many Wieskamp, Bohannon, Harding, Koch. And by the way, a lot of those players I think Cooper Koch could be a phenomenal Big Ten player, but you don't want a bunch of Cooper Koches all over the court. You don't want a bunch of Brock Hardings all over the court. A lot of fans would say, I watched this team and they just got a bunch of unathletic dudes on the floor. And that's largely correct. Price, all this stuff about Price, and Fran said preseason he's an underrated defensive player. That's a load of garbly goop. You and I both know that, Tony. Price is an below average defensive player. Peyton is a below average defensive player. Brock is a below average defensive player.
Yep.
Owen is a below average defensive player. And when you have a bunch of below average defensive players all trying to mesh, and frankly, Josh Dix is average at best.
He's almost
he's their best option, especially perimeter defender.
Does Josh Dix suffer from the Gabby Marshall enigma where
Yes, but
he's only good because of what's around him?
But I think he's a more natural defender than Gabby. Gabby just gave phenomenal effort all the time. Mm-hmm. And, Seydu's got all the potential in the world, but he appears to me to be very poorly coached. And it doesn't always fall on the coaching staff, but he makes so many mistakes. And maybe he's just not listening to the coaches. That's always possible. But he appears to be very poorly coached on both ends. And he's still young, but, we're getting down. He's a year and a half into his career now. He's played a lot.
So last, and then I'll let you go. Sorry again for being late to this. I got you on PayPal after this. So if they miss the tournament, in your opinion, I think this has been rehashed, so I apologize, but for you guys, Tony, you too, is that should that be the end for Fran? Do we need to usher in a new era if we miss the tournament? And if that happens, what do you think happens with the current recruits? Because my opinion at the beginning of the year and even before this awful stretch was you really can't get rid of him with that buyout with what's been committed already and what potentially will return. But lately, it just looks like there's just no effort on the floor.
Let me make something very clear. If they, and I don't think this is going to happen because I don't know that he's qualified, but if they somehow got rid of Fran and just hired Matt to be the head coach, we've talked about that. I think that's premature, Tony. I think you and I would agree on that. But if they did that, then you have a chance of holding on to everybody. You could hold on to all your recruits potentially. Why are you shaking your head, Tony?
I don't think so.
Well, what do you mean you don't think so?
Well, I don't think Matt would take it if Fran leaves either, though. I mean, in that hypothetical, maybe. I really think a lot of these commits that have committed have all talked about Fran and the culture of family that Iowa has, that he's built, and all this stuff.
You're saying Matt Gatens would not take the head coaching job at Iowa if offered?
Well, he probably would, but I don't think you're going to keep all the recruits. That's my shaking my head.
Oh, yeah, I don't buy that.
You're asking my opinion. That's my opinion. I don't think. And
it's not apples to apples with Lisa Bluth or Jan Jensen. But lost nobody. Lost nobody there.
Matt's a tough one because like the team scores at an incredible rate most nights. Lately, no, but they do score at a high rate, and Matt was an incredible scorer. So it's like you can attribute that high statistic to Matt Gatens being a part of the staff because it has improved with Matt and the staff. But
the offense is improved?
They've always scored a lot of points, though, Dom.
Hold on. Are you saying the offense is improved with Matt on the staff?
Yeah, I mean, they were ranked like top 5 in points per game. Number 2 in the Big Ten, right?
No, Tony, you look at the numbers. They're scoring more points now than they ever have under Fran. But I also don't think that's necessarily
a correlation.
Yes, I
don't know if that's because Matt was.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying if we're going to give him any like leash or credit for something, that's really all I can point it to because the team looks the same way they have the entire
I'm simply saying Matt's a hometown kid. He's a likable guy.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to roll the dice, you say, okay, Matt, hold on to the guys we have and build this on what Fran had, but build it better. And go hire assistants. Hire assistants that are smarter than you are. Do what well, John Beeline's a bad example because he's a veteran head coach, but do what Fred Hoiberg did at Iowa State. One of Fred Hoiberg's great assistant coaches was who?
The doc guy from Nebraska or whatever, right?
Who else?
Who else was? I forgot who was on his staff besides. Was it Otzelberger too?
Otzelberger, right? Am I wrong on that?
Well, I thought there was a more proven guy. I thought they had the Nebraska guy that was on his staff.
Oh, they had good. I don't know who their staff. I don't know their entire staff, but I'm saying Otzelberger. They had a number of proven guys. Fred Hoiberg was new to the coaching sphere. He comes in and now it was a different era, right? The portal wasn't a thing yet. He was getting built a bunch of transfers. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not. If Matt were to take the job over, I'd be in wait and see mode. I wouldn't say horrible hire. I'd be in wait and see mode.
I think if Matt,
but would he be your option? Like, is that really the direction?
He would be my first option, but I don't know that they can get my first option.
Who's your first?
Who's your first?
Yeah. I've said this a million times. Why do I got to repeat myself, Tony?
Because I'm dumb.
I'm inconsistent. I'm sorry.
Your first option is CC.
Who?
CC.
Caitlin Clark?
I knew you were... No, the other CC. Collins.
Oh, okay.
From Northwestern?
Yeah.
He's my first option.
Okay.
Do I think Iowa can get him? No. And do I think Iowa can go get DeVries? No. I think that ship has sailed.
I think McCollum sailed too. I'll be honest. I digest way too much college basketball. There's a podcast yesterday talking, Field of 68. We're literally talking that Ben McCollum should be the first choice for Indiana. If Ben McCollum's being tied to Indiana, I'm sorry. That ship's gone. Yep. Sorry. Yeah, we're not going to be able to compete with Indiana. Like, I'm just being honest about it as an Iowa fan. Like, in DeVries,
especially when we have a buyout still pending.
Yeah. Right. Especially and then Indiana's like, dude, name your price. If they're gonna give him a blank check, like, we're not going to be able to compete. And same thing with basketball NIL wise. Like, Indiana's spending $5 million reportedly this year on their whole roster. Is he going to take $5 million, or maybe Iowa's $1.5 million, or whatever they try to compete with? Like, I'm sorry, That's not going to.
Hey, Ryan in the chat says that Brad Underwood is going to be the next head coach, and Bielema will follow.
There's one name I just want to throw out that's a controversial name while we're mentioning it that I think would be a very good hire and is the anti-Fran. And what I mean by that is like we always want to go the exact opposite. Who?
Chris Collins is the anti-Fran.
Well, this guy's even more anti-Fran than Chris Collins. And his first name is Chris, and he's from Iowa, and it's Chris Jans. He plays hard-nosed defensive basketball. He has one blemish on his record. We had a little dust-up when he was a younger coach at Bowling Green, so I don't know if Iowa's going to accept that. But dude's from Iowa. Mm-hmm. He's proven it at Mississippi State. He's proven it at New Mexico State, because I want to say he was the coach that took over after New Mexico State had all that BS with their men's program. And the guy plays what?
Well, I was going to say Bruce Pearl had some issues.
Oh yeah,
with that, and
I don't think we're going to get him. Chris, no, I think Chris would come back home. Well, I think Chris Jans would leave Mississippi State to come back to Iowa. He's an Iowa boy, and I really he coached at Kirkwood for a while too. Like, dude's had like a long coaching tenure. He's only 55, and he plays that like. It's not like the pack line defense like Tony Bennett played, but think of it as like you're getting a Virginia coach who's like hard-nosed defense. We slow it down. We're going to grind you out and play defense in your face and beat you with defense, which is the exact opposite of Fran. That's why I say he's the anti-Fran.
I'm not going to grind it out on the show anymore.
Nope, that's fine. Sorry.
Have a good night. Appreciate it, sir. Always enjoy your calls. Thank you. And do appreciate I think he said he left a donation, so appreciate that, Dom. Tom is here as well. Oh. Tom.
Cory, I'm not going to take too much of your time because you want to leave.
You're breathing heavy, Tom. Are you okay?
Yeah. Well, I just got done choring.
All right.
But anyway, that's another story. But anyway, Cory.
Yep, anyway.
Now, so I'm not a Fran fan.
You're not?
No, I'm not a Fran fan. I told you this like 4 years ago.
I know.
But anyway, if he was my employee and I looked at his performance, I probably wouldn't fire him. Right? Now, if you put attendance on there, that's a different story. I don't know how many people was there tonight. Don't know. But anyway, so besides that, I don't get fired up until Tony and Doug call in, and then they get me fired up. Great guys. But anyway, Cory, do you see this team winning half their games out? I don't.
I see them maybe winning half their games out, but that's not. That's not to make the tournament, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at their schedule and I don't see them winning half their games.
I think let me spitball this real quick. I think they beat Penn State, they lose at Ohio State, they lose against Purdue.
Yep.
They steal one against Wisconsin in a revenge game. I think they lose at Rutgers. Maybe they steal Maryland. Maybe they steal one against Oregon, and then that Washington game becomes really big because fans will start to rally, and some fans will. They'll think, okay, we got life. Then they'll lose at Illinois. They'll lose at Northwestern. Michigan State's going to be really tough. And then that Nebraska game, they may be just playing for seeding.
That might even be a bubble game where both us and Nebraska are literally on the bubble and both of us.
You better hope I was on the bubble by the time we hit Nebraska.
I'm just saying, like, if things work out like.
Yeah. You're just dreaming. You're just preparing for.
Well, I'm telling you right now, I pulled up Ken Palm. They're only favored to win 2 more games. They're only going to be favored.
Yeah.
2 more games. 2 more games, Cory. That's it.
That's rough.
Yeah. They're going to only be favored in Penn State and Washington. That's it.
Folks,
I don't see them winning half their games.
Well,
I hate to say I agree with Tom, but I like
Tom
and you're
Tony
agreed.
Right. So, Tom, anything else before I let
you
slide?
And Dom and I agreed too. Like, this is a world peace.
Tony, you're the best.
No, you're good too. Hope you're.
I didn't want to get in deep. No, I got a tractor gelled up and everything else. Just got in and I missed the game. Doesn't sound like I missed much. We could talk about the game. I looked at the stats. Where'd they get beat? What beat them?
Effort.
A lot of
That
places.
doesn't even show. Yeah, but effort.
Let's see. They shot 46%, but they shot 14% from three. Shot 67% from the foul line.
That was bad.
They actually
But
won
to-
on turnovers. They won on turnovers. They
And
got,
rebounds weren't terrible.
but they got beat on glass. They got beat in second
Early, it
chance.
was bad.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the stats don't even look that bad, Tony.
No.
Well, that's why I say effort.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it a lot of this came down to just I think effort at times, but the fact that I was just so dependent on threes. They're not making threes. It's gonna be hard to win.
Did they trail the whole game?
Yes.
Yes, from start to finish.
So they
And
really weren't
It
ever.
wasn't even like a close trail. It was at least 8 points.
Would you call that a good old fashioned spanking, Tony?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a spanking when you lead from start to finish, and they kind of made the push there at the end. But there was a double-digit lead with a couple minutes to go. So,
and right out of the half too. Right out of the half, they hit 2 threes, and it was like, yep, 10-point game rest of the half mostly.
Cory, you were good this afternoon, Cory. Listen to you this afternoon.
Oh, you watched the show with Mark, did you? I appreciate
every week. Yep. And so I think Fran's going to East Tennessee State too, probably.
Hey, did you guys see that they got the kid from North Carolina?
No, I didn't see that.
Just a little quarterback kid. So I tweeted that out. I'm guessing Caden goes back to the portal because well, he's already signed, but I don't know how that works. He's a graduate. Can he go back into the portal immediately? Because they just got the kid from North Carolina. Why? I don't know how East Tennessee State's pulling these kids in, but anyways.
Well, why? Well, they're not a bad football program in their world. You know,
they're average at best in their world.
Yeah.
They're in. What are they in the Colonial Conference? And they're middle of the pack of the Colonial.
But I mean, where's Fran going to go when he leaves Iowa?
Retire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we're just keeping somebody around. He's a has-been.
I don't think Fran has to worry about finances between his contract and what he's earned at Iowa and his potential. Oh my God, I'm awful at this stuff. But his potential Caitlin Clark marrying into the family. I don't think finances is a big concern.
It's not about finances. It's just that's where you go.
He may be happy. He may be happy just riding off.
Well, I'm sure he is.
Keep from sleep, Tom, and I'll talk to you.
Hey,
women's
I
game.
do want to give you bad news before we leave. Sorry.
All right.
Tom, I know we want to end on good news.
I'll go.
Thank you, Tom. Go ahead, Tony. You got some bad news for me?
How are we watching the game tomorrow?
It is on Peacock.
Yeah,
it is on Peacock. The good old Peacock. Iowa, Washington. 8 p.m. Hey, we get another late tip. We get another late tip. Isn't that great? Great for me. It's great for Machine, who lives on the East Coast. It's great for everyone.
9 p.m. tip for her. 11:15, 11:30 start of the post game.
And have a lot of these types of games when you.
And she loves the Peacock. I know that.
Oh yeah,
she loves those streams.
11:15 p.m. Eastern time start for the post game show following a Peacock loss to Washington.
That just sounds really bad. A grand old time. I'll probably be there. So
appreciate you being here.
Hey, you too, man. Appreciate it.
Always enjoy it. We'll talk to you tomorrow
I was
night.
going to send you I'll probably be there tomorrow night. I was trying to send you a super chat through Venmo. I Googled how long ago was March 13th, 1999. Now, the significance of that is that's the last day Iowa's played in a Sweet 16 game.
Okay.
And it is 310 months.
13. So you're saying that for all the months that have gone by, you're going to donate $1.
Well, see, I was trying to look at like a legitimate one where I could even like move it over. I was like, well, I could do $31, but then that's 31.0.
You could just do $3.10, and then YouTube takes 30% of that. So
I'm not. I had just sent it to you in PayPal, which I know you can't say this. Hey, everyone who's listening, I want to tell you this right now. Just send it to Cory on PayPal, Venmo, or whatever. So that way YouTube doesn't take the damn cut, and Cory gets more of the money. I know he can't say it.
I can say it. I don't
But
know if
like,
you'd
send
like
it to them through Venmo, PayPal, whatever, Cash App, because then no one's getting the cut. That's all. Sorry.
Tony, always appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Have
it.
a good night. All right, folks. As Tony said, if you're interested in supporting the show, you can do so. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. It is preferred. It is appreciated. The Hawkeyes fall to the Gophers in spite of outshooting them from the field, battling them on turnovers. They were actually in the green on turnovers. They were better in the paint tonight. They were better on the break. They lost on bench points and second chance points, but not a lot of rebounding, of course, and then that correlates with the second chance points. But Minnesota just led this game from start to finish, led by as many as 17. The Hawkeyes had 25 seconds in this game with the lead, and a frantic comeback at the end falls short. Certainly, our thoughts are with the young athlete, the cheerleader that got hurt tonight. Hope to hear good news on that. That's the most important thing, obviously. Folks, I'll be back with you, hopefully with Gary Close following a long vacation, well-deserved vacation for Gary. Friday night after the Penn State game, Iowa and Penn State Friday night on FS1. And tomorrow night, it's the Hawks and the Huskies of Washington, the women's basketball team looking to get back on track. And it's a much-needed game, knock on wood, much-needed game tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central Time on Peacock. Have a great night, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow.